And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather Smash Show, coming at you from the Smash News Network, least busted name of news, just bringing you the most detailed imagery of the sun and most comprehensive space weather you'll find in the world. Lots of interesting stuff to cover as always. Here's the sun on two wavelengths from SDO, 131 plus 171 angstroms. And of course, we've got some imagery of a comet recently leaving the coronagraph imagery. Let's take a brief look at that. Whoops. There it is, exiting the Soho-Lascaux C3. And let's take a look at the filament fest that is currently going on, because we've got coronal mass ejections happening, and the likelihood of additional coronal mass ejections continues to remain in place. So most of the activity from the past 24 hours has been up here in the northwestern limb. Some great imagery there. And let's start out with the southwestern limb. You can see huge filaments here and a lot of gradation there. These videos are all the past 24 hours, and we've got plenty of filaments to name, so join us on Twitter if you'd like to name filaments after living people. You are invited to join us at Smashomash over on Twitter. So there is the southeastern limb. Here is the northeastern limb. Got some prominences up there as well. And some aspects of solar activity here are in the process of ramping up. Let's take a look at the most exciting portion of the Earth-facing part of the solar disk. There is that northwestern limb, and you can see a CME, at least one CME happening there, and some plasma splashing back down toward the chromosphere. You see a brightening around there. That's a specific type of solar flare caused by plasma splashback. Great imagery there from SDO. Here is your SDO intensitygram yesterday plus today. We do have a new named sunspot group that'll be named right back here, right in here. There's a second sunspot group there, believe it or not. Some growth in this sunspot group. And here's SDO magnetogram for that same period of time. That's yesterday plus today. Pardon our lateness on today's daily space weather video. And by the way, if you want to support the channel, consider becoming a member of the Smash Team. Smashomash.com/Smash Team is our own subscription services site. We launched it back in October of 2021 because Patreon was lacking some features that we needed. So join us over there thanks to our new Gold Smash Team members. And for all of our Smash Team members, and even those of you who aren't members of the Smash Team, if you are a Gold member, you can actually check out our explanation of the solar sunspot cycles. We just wrote an article about it yesterday in posts, so log in at a gold level and you will be able to view our most recent explanation of what underlies the sunspot cycles. You can also support us via Patreon, although you won't get as much information over there. Patreon.com/Smashomash. If it's more convenient for you to support the channel there, feel free. We've been there for quite a while now. Today's featured product is the Galactic Federation Special Forces motto, which is Universum Liberate. So save 20% store-wide by checking out the Redbubble shop. Lots of different products there with the Galactic Federation Special Forces unit patch as well as the motto, Universum Liberate. Convince your friends and foes that you're part of the Illuminati by stating Universum Liberate. If you don't know what it means, you've probably got access to the internet. Otherwise, you wouldn't be viewing the video, so why not look it up using a reputable search engine, if there is such a thing in 2023. And you can find links below the video to the Redbubble shop. Again, save 20% site-wide. If you clink the link to our Redbubble shop below the video, you'll find the products in order of best selling, which may or may not reflect the views of the Smash News Network, least busted name of news, and congratulations on surviving a global scamdemic so far. You're doing a fine job out there, and let's take a look at volcanoes. We cover it daily on the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. So let's do a rundown. Shivaluch is erupting, although volcanic ash not identifiable in satellite imagery. Suwanosejima produced a 5,000-foot ash plume. Semeru produced a 14,000-foot ash plume. That's a flight level 140 over East Java, Indonesia. Popocatépetl produced a 21,000-foot ash plume. Flight level 210 over central Mexico. Santiaguido extruding some new real estate there in Guatemala. Also some pyroclastic flows could be occurring. Please do not pole vault the caldera. Also in Guatemala, fuego is exploding, flight level 150. Flight level 200 over Sangay in Ecuador. Flight level 230 over Cotopaxi in Ecuador. Sabancaya, intermittent emissions. Lascar in northern Chile. Volcanic alert level remains orange as the dome is inflating. Let's take a look at earthquakes. So the past 24 hours of earthquakes haven't been super high in terms of seismic activity. There is the 90-day bar graph to put that in context. And let's scroll up the list. We will note any earthquakes above a 5 magnitude, such as this 5.0 at Ecuador that came in at 21:14 Universal Time yesterday evening. So it's been pretty calm here. No major quakes. Only 1 or 2 quakes here of a 5+ magnitude. I think only one of a 5+ magnitude. Well, one just came in here while we did the show prep at the Leeward Islands there. What? There we go. The extreme eastern Caribbean there, seeing a 5.0. That came in at 13:13 Universal Time today. And let's get back to space. There is the past 24 hours of ionized helium. And of course, those bright white-colored regions mean a lot of helium, and these dark-colored regions mean not a lot of helium. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux has dipped to 134 solar flux units. We have perhaps reached a support level here. There is the 1-year graph to put it in context. The black line is a 10.7 centimeter radial flux, and the red line is a sunspot number. And I would note here on the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard that the information has been updated. So what's the relevance? Well, the relevance is that Solar Cycle 25 is in the process of surpassing Solar Cycle 24 way early, way ahead of schedule there. Monthly values now up to 143.6, with predicted values of only 63.4. So that's the sunspot number. Radial flux here has now exceeded Solar Cycle 25. So there you go. The current state is for monthly values 182.5 for Solar Cycle 25. Solar Cycle 24 never made it above 170.1 solar flux units for the radial flux. So still not a grand solar minimum. And let's move on to more facts. No space weather storms or geomagnetic unrest conditions forecasted by NOAA on the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard. Global geomagnetism is calm here at only a KP1. And let's take a look at Earth's magnetic moment from space for the past 4 hours. Not particularly exciting in terms of solar wind parameters. So things have been pretty calm here over the past 4 hours. That's magnetohydrodynamic pressure, modeled by the Space Weather Modeling Framework. It's our Geospace Magnetosphere movie. Will also show ground magnetic perturbations for the past 4 hours. We show them daily on the channel. And that is Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. The units depicted here are nanotesla. Geospace delta B refers to changes to Earth's B field, the B field being the field that goes through the magnet, this magnet being the Earth. And yeah, pretty uneventful here for the past 4 hours. Next, looking at the real-time solar wind, we've seen a subsiding of a coronal hole high-speed stream. Current conditions are about 425 kilometers per second for the solar wind speed. Solar wind density here, barely 3 protons per cubic centimeter. Slightly below 3 protons per cubic centimeter. Let's take a look at magnetic data next. There are your GOES magnetometers, the GOES 16 and GOES 18 for the past 3 days. Nothing exciting going on there either. Let's take a look at the heliospheric current sheet next. So Earth is solidly in a South Pole current sheet. And once again, welcome to the South Pole. We are in the heliospheric South Pole at the moment. North Pole is almost exactly on the opposite side of the sun here, depicted here in green. There's the North Pole current sheet. Here is the South Pole current sheet, almost perfectly directed toward Earth, at least this side of the solar system. Here is our line of sight field plot. The sun's B field appearing fanned out there. An indication that the south solar polar field is pointed toward the Earth. North solar polar field depicted here in green, south solar polar field depicted in red. And of course, we use this imagery in our article that we wrote yesterday on the Smash Team site. Don't forget to log in if you are a Gold Smash Team member especially, and view our article yesterday about the sunspot cycles. It may be mind-boggling, but it is the most plausible explanation. So here's our line of sight coronal hole plot. We do have some minor North Pole-oriented coronal holes hanging out down here in the southeast. So these are North Pole down here. They'll become a little bit more well-defined in the coming days. The rest of these are South Pole. That is all South Pole coronal hole area there. That's the last 24 hours, SDO 211 angstroms. One of the many species of ionized iron covered by SDO. Next, we'll get to sunspots, which have been mostly stable here. Again, we do expect to see one more named group here. It'll be 3209, that group right there. That is a sunspot. We have seen a little bit of growth in 3208. Let's take a look at that in 171 angstroms plus SDO continuum. And that is what's currently going on. Let's zoom in a little bit, show a little bit greater detail here. And let's get rid of the 171 angstroms. So we should expect to see 5 named sunspot groups by the end of the day today. I would say the most likely place to see major flares would be from this group here. It is quite magnetically complex. And let's take a look at energetic particles and solar flares. So we have seen a minor uptick here in solar protons. So the GOES proton flux here showing some little minor upticks there. Very minor, not enough to even cause any polar radio blackouts, I would not suspect. They're associated with these 2 C-class flares that happened late in the day yesterday. The first one was at about 1800 Universal Time, and the second one was around 2250 was the peak flux. Again, some minor relativistic particles showing up there, not enough to really do very much. I wouldn't really call it a proton event. Otherwise, the X-ray profile here remaining below a C-class background level. So downtick here in X-ray flux, despite a couple of C-class intensifications. And let's take a look at 94 angstroms. So these C-class flares came from this area up here, this setting region. And our regular viewers are probably well aware of the fact that solar flares are much more likely to be produced around the limb than in the center portion of the Earth-facing solar disk. How about 131 angstroms? The other wavelength that takes 10 images per minute instead of only 2, specifically formulated to view solar flares. So most of the activity there occurring in the northwestern limb. And let's take a brief look at what's going on overhead. So this is our star chart for Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Saturn chasing the sun there across the ecliptic, and the sun chasing Mercury. If you're up before dawn, you might see Mercury rising ahead of the sun if you've got a clear horizon. And there you go. There's the sun and Mercury there rising up on the ecliptic over Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, where we're located. Let's do a solar system forecast next. So there is the current state of affairs for the solar system. Let's advance this 1 week. Here's where things will be on February 9th. And let's look at coronagraphs since we do have some additional coronal mass ejections. Unfortunately, there's some lacking data here at George Mason University. So let's take a look at the Integrated Space Weather Analysis Center, Stereo A's Lagrange 5, and Soho LASCO C3 Lagrange 1. There you can see that comet exiting the Soho LASCO C3. Also some coronal mass ejections there that are not earthly directed. So those are off to the north and west. And we've got some custom HelioViewer movies for you here to show a little more detail on those. So here's the last 24 hours, SDO 304 angstroms plus Soho LASCO C2 and C3. And of course we're missing something there, so let's take a look at the upper portion of that. There goes that comet. And here's a closer up image of those final segments of that comet leaving the Soho LASCO C3. Here's a little zoom in. Again, none of those CMEs are earthly directed. Next, looking at filaments. And yeah, lots of filaments on the earthly portion of the solar disk. We should probably name some of those filaments. And if you want to name filaments, make sure you join us on Twitter. Once again, twitter.com/smashomash, where we play the space weather game. So complete the challenge of name that filament. You are invited as one of our viewers to join us over on Twitter. Look at it. We're all the way up to 374 followers, folks. Oh, my God, that's amazing. Elon has cured censorship on the internet. Wow, isn't that spectacular? Pardon the sarcasm. Here's the last 24 hours of SDO imagery in 171 angstroms, the house favorite wavelength. And we'll also show the last about 2.5 hours from the GOES 18 SUVI. So 2 CMEs actually propagating here on the imagery. One up here in the northeast. One up here in the northwest. I think that one is now mostly exited the corona. Crown prominence happening up here. You can see some plasma here making its way toward the west. That's always interesting. And that is the Stella, what's her last name, filament there. And that brings us to our bonus features segment. Satellite charging hazards are non-existent. It's smooth sailing at the moment. The GOES electron flux here, kind of low. And I believe we are expecting a minor uptick there in the electron flux. Nope. NOAA forecasting it to come down. I would tend to disagree. I think tomorrow we're going to see a little higher electron flux. But you can check on my forecast tomorrow. There's the 1-year graph to put it in context. Let's take a look at the F layer of the ionosphere as we see some significant anomalies in the F layer, which is about 300 kilometers of altitude. Let's check out the vibrational frequency first. We definitely see some significant anomalies here in the South Pacific. So that's certainly interesting, especially for our regular viewers who have been watching the migration of the South Atlantic anomaly via our channel. Apparently, we're the only organization in the world to be covering it, which is surprising considering how many people are citing nonsense about Earth's geomagnetic excursion. And here you'll see some significant anomalies. So this is anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. We've got these weird high-frequency anomalies happening out here in the South Pacific. So that's not the normal thing that you'll see here. We'll let that play through one more time for you. Right in there. Big-time anomalies there of the high-frequency variety happening in the South Pacific around the 30 degrees south latitude line. And here's the latest image. That's 1400 Universal Time. Again, coming at you very late today. There's 1415 Universal Time on the anomalygram. We'll also take a look at the total electron content forecast. It'll show you the most likely places for GPS errors. Total electron content depicts the free electrons between your GPS satellite and your handset. The most likely places to see GPS errors are indeed around the equator at noon. And we're seeing a little bit more organized total electron content. A lot more organized than it was about a month ago. So that's what's going on in terms of that. We'll close out the space weather portion of today's video with our intensitygram and colorized magnetogram. So again, we've got a second named sunspot group here. This one is beta gamma class. This one down here looking promising there. It's got some complex fields. There are the fields. And that sunspot is beta gamma class. So that increases the likelihood of solar flares a little bit. Here's the rock back, the full disk view. And before we move to meteorology, once again, thanks viewers for tuning into the video. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. If you want to help us out, one of the ways you can do it, if you're unable or unwilling to open your cobweb-encrusted wallet, perhaps help us out with clicks and welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Visit our homepage at smashomash.com. You can find links to the Smash Team, the Red Bubble Shop, our social media sites, and lots more. Like a permanent invite link to our Discord chat. Smashomash.com is the location for that. Press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content on YouTube. Check out our playlists to see video not related to space weather and meteorology, like driving, riding, and pro tips. Terms defined, cosmology segments. Smashomash.org presents The Sun. Ownage, food, and drink. And don't forget the 12 days of Smashmas. Yeah, we released original music on the first 12 days of December. Thanks for tolerating the pathetic and putrid censorship on the YouTube platform. If you're viewing on BitChute, make sure you view the content on YouTube. You're missing like 90% of it. And we were going to do a live stream today, but we didn't get 50 likes on yesterday's video, so make sure you press like. It'll increase the likelihood that we will produce a live stream today. 50 likes, and we will stream live. So next thing we're looking at here are meteorology topics. This is the pressure over Antarctica, and there's a high pressure zone there over a large portion of the Antarctican continent, all the way up to 1,028 hectopascals down there, and a bunch of low pressure systems here around the Southern Ocean. So those are the lowest pressure in the world right now. I think it's this, it might be this one actually. 957 hectopascals, 955 hectopascals. That's pretty significantly low pressure. And indeed, that is the lowest pressure in the world. And let's take a look at the planet's winds here at the moment. Those are the surface winds of the eastern world. A bit of a low pressure here surrounding Tasmania. And shout out to our viewers from under. Here are the jet streams of this side of the planet. Jet streams of this side of the planet, our side of the planet, the West, the Americas, are looking like that. These are the surface winds. Surface winds of the central world are as shown here, and jet streams are shown here. Let's blast through the rest of our meteorology to get this video onto your screen. It was originally streamed live to twitch.tv/smashomash, and now we are watching the sunrise. Yeah, the sunrise over the Americas. That's our visible satellite. We usually use the shortwave radiation. Today we're using the visible. Great detail there from the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite. And it's still dark over the western portion of the country. But that's what's going on the eastern portion. And let's take a look at our weather.gov map. Now, if your county is lit, click your county here on weather.gov. We've scrolled down to show you the warnings. Again, weather.gov if your county is lit. And of course, one of the stories in the news will be the cold temperature. So here's your 72-hour GFS temperature anomaly forecast in degrees Celsius. Be a second very cold wave coming to New York and New England there. We'll also show pressure and precipitation. Pressure and precipitation over the next 72 hours based on the GFS model is looking like this. And since some of that precipitation will be in the form of snow, here's our accumulated positive snow depth change forecast in inches. That is what's going on for the next 72 hours. At least based on the GFS model. We'll also show the Euro model. So let's just show snow depth here actually this time. Instead of new snow, we'll show snow depth. That is the Euro model. And here is, the GFS model doesn't show snow depth. Never mind, let's go back to new snow. So this is the next 3 days European model. And those are the next 3 days GFS model. Euro model, a GFS model. In the Euro model, Tennessee's going to get quite a bit of snow. In the GFS model, not so much. Anyway, continuing on to look at lightning. East Texas had some lightning in the past 12 hours. Let's see if we have any active cells here in the U.S. Could be some lightning strikes there south of Shreveport, in between Shreveport and Alexandria. Some minor thunder shower activity happening down there. Pretty calm here, according to lightningmaps.org. Not a lot of lightning strikes currently occurring on planet Earth. Let me just press refresh to make sure we've got legit data. Yeah, it looks legit. Not a lot of lightning strikes here in the past couple of hours. Let's look at U.S. Doppler radar next. To close this thing out, this is your latest real-time data. We'll focus on the lower 48. There is vertical motion of water droplets and ice crystals in the air column. Ground-based U.S. Doppler radar systems. Here is the satellite-based 3.9 nanometer satellite animation. That's infrared radiation, if you're wondering. And there is the water vapor. Looks like clear skies over West Texas, southern Arizona, and southern New Mexico. Anyway, let's close this thing out. There is your U.S. Doppler radar. 3.9 nanometer radiation infrared satellite. And there is the water vapor map. Smash Team members, make sure you check out the Smash Team site, smashamash.com/smashteam. We wrote an article about the sunspot cycles and what likely causes them. The plausible explanation. So thanks for helping us write the paper, Gold Smash Team members. Everybody else, if you want to get it before it gets released for peer review, become a gold member of the Smash Team. Otherwise, we'll see you soon. In the meantime, may that solar wind be at your back. Facts stated in this video suppressed to improve your online experience by big tech organizations. Opinions expressed in this video are not necessarily the opinions of Smash News Network, least busted name in Nav.